Welcome to the community gallery. This is my second artist talk here, and I'm sitting next to two great mural artists that I met in summer 2020. That's Manny, and that's SULE on my far right. And I like to talk about what happened during the summer 2020, as well as your career as mural artist. So let's make it simple first. Where did both of you guys grow up? Start with you, Sule.
I grew up between Jersey City and New York City, so very much uptown Harlem, Washington Heights area, so like Upper Manhattan and downtown Jersey City.
What was it like growing up? What did you do as a kid?
What did I do as a child? I ran around a lot, I guess. Yeah, definitely literally ran around a lot. Would skate around. I used to paint a bunch when I was like more bombing when I was like a young teenager, like 12. So that'd be like my first experiences with like spray paint and stuff in the culture. And be back and forth between New York and Jersey.
All right, cool. And how about you, Manny? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. Grew up in Brooklyn most of my childhood, up until I went to high school. For high school, I went to High School of Art and Design, which is Midtown, and there I got exposure to friends, from Harlem, Queens, the Bronx, and really developed friendships that, even till now I have around, and luckily are also still in the art world. So that's pretty cool to see. And I'm grateful that I was able to go to art and design, because I also got, just met good people, good things that I've learned years down the road,
Right. And would it be fair to say you guys started having an inkling to be artists, like early on, like elementary school or junior high school, or when did you guys start kind of thinking you wanted to be an artist? How'd you first?
For sure, when I was a child, I've been drawing as long as I can remember. Painting, sculpting, all of the above. A lot of my mom saves a bunch of it. I forget some of the stuff I do, and then I'll visit
good.
her, and there it is.
Right. How about you, man?
Yeah, same. As far as I can remember, even like third grade, or I would stand out by being able to be the person in the class that can draw stuff, or draw what people were, whatever. So it came naturally to go towards art.
And we're going to get into this a little later, because you guys, you have these characters that you create, and did early on, did comic books play a role in terms of creating characters in your work as you develop it more, or you mature to a character later on?
Personally, it's something I've always been doing. Back to like elementary school, making like comic books with my friends, and from the cartoons and stuff that we would watch regularly, and then we created our own characters for, say, like a similar universe, and we even one time remember making like a language for like some random species or alien. But yeah, it's definitely something I've been doing for a long time.
And how about you, Manny?
Characters. Well, I did grow up looking at cartoons and anime, and it fascinated me. Like what's really interesting to me is also the art of storytelling, visually and stuff. So that was really cool to see. And how do you translate that into paintings and such? So it's really interesting.
Right. Okay. Can you describe the first art piece that you thought was really, really good? And did a mentor or parent have encouraged you to be an artist? But what was the first art piece where you said, you know what, I think I could do this on the next level? Start with you, man. What was the first art piece where you looked at? Oh, this is really good.
Like outside, like out, like not mine, right? Like
No, of your stuff. Of your stuff.
Oh, my stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's hard. But I'll say this: when I was in high school, I majored in illustration, and I used to study looking at Peter Paul Rubens' painting, which is like this really old, like Renaissance painter. But his thing was painting movement and like Jesus coming up the cross and stuff. So how to capture dynamic movement was really like. So I attempted to do that, and I remember in high school I did a painting of a fight, like a high school fight, and I had friends reenact so I can take pictures, and it's a whole thing. But I attempted it. I don't think I ever finished it, but it was a learning experience, and I was like, oh, I like this. Isn't it was cool. I like the way I was going with that, and
Just
learning from old
stuff. Yeah, yeah. And how about you, Sule? Was there a piece you thought was, oh, this is my young masterpiece or something? Or they tell me, but you thought, hey, I could do this art.
Hard to think of like a specific piece. Yeah, I'm not sure there was like ever like a specific piece that made me choose to pursue an artistic career. Maybe like a combination of pieces over the years, and seeing my own reaction, but other people's reaction to my work. That's been a huge, I guess, inspiration to continue.
Okay. So you guys, you graduated from high school. Did y'all decide to go to college, or what happened next once you left high school and you continue pursue your art career?
Well, I did a year of college where I wrestled, and decided to take a year off after that, and I did not go back. I became a yoga teacher. So I've been teaching for about like 7-8 years, and then the pandemic happened. Studios closed, and I gave more of an opportunity to paint outdoors, especially with Soho being all boarded up. And like teaching on Zoom.
Teaching on Zoom. And how about you, Manny? What'd you do after high school? Did you pursue any jobs that require art?
No, not at all. No, I did the whole detour thing. So it's looking back, it's funny watching my teachers' reaction when they all assumed that you're gonna go to SVA or Pratt, and I was like, nah, I'm just going to the military. And I did a long pause for like 6 years, 7 years, where I served in the military and then came back and just was trying to figure out what to do. And then 2019 came around, and I started painting trucks again and spray painting and getting back into my creative flow. And then 2020 came around, and it just never stopped from there.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question. But were y'all both influenced about street art at all? Whether graffiti or murals, as you were growing up, did that have an inkling in terms of you wanting to be an artist or wanting to be a muralist? You first, Sule. Did the street art tagging have any influence on you at all?
For sure. I mean, I used to sneak out when I was 11 years old to go paint with friends of mine, for sure. And then...
What's your tag? Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't give out any secrets, but what?
Yeah, no, I used to write around here and in the city, and I went away for high school, and then for a lot of friends of mine got caught, so that's pretty much around the time where I kind of had to stop and focus a bit more on illustration work and like graphic design sort of stuff. But street art's always been present in my life.
Did you have a tag name?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
awkward. Sorry.
No.
All right, that's fine. Now, how about you, Maddie?
Influence. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the part of just being rebellious and just, you do whatever you want as a team. But also, what I did like was the aspect of not waiting for gallery to give you an opportunity, but rather you take it and you go out and you paint on, you know what I mean, really go out there and do it and take instead of waiting for it to given to you. But same thing as far as like graffiti itself. I remember in high school I was doing that as well. Got arrested. My mom would be here. She would be, we would be able to tell you that the countless court days I had to put her through, and like it was terrible. I was like, you know what? Let me just focus on painting while doing a little here and there. But
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
did you have a tag name?
I did. I used to write KISS, KIS.
Oh,
And interesting about that is I don't know, I liked rock back in the day as well a lot, and that kind of stood out to me, and I was like, well, nobody really writes that, so I don't know. But I didn't make much of it, but that was nice.
was you getting your name up? So obviously, if you was in the mix a lot.
Yeah,
you
no,
was getting
of
your
course.
name up. Okay.
Yeah, no. Having friends in Harlem, I used to paint a lot in Harlem. Had my fair share of rooftops up there. It was fun.
Right. So you went to a prestigious high school where a lot of well-known street artists went
Yeah.
there as well. Art and design, right?
Yeah, at the time, very low funded. So I would say it also got a lot of like rejects and like people that were into graffiti but just want to get through high school. So it was very, Hispanic community in there, Black community in there. So it wasn't as prestigious like LaGuardia or something like that.
At the time you went.
At the time I was in.
Okay.
So, but it was cool for what it was.
All right, that's interesting. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. All right, so now we established some background. We can get into the summer of 2020 and how I met you guys, and during the Black Lives Matter protest, both of you were painting a lot of murals related to protests in Soho and other areas of the city. Why did you guys come to Soho? What motivated, first, one at a time, what motivated you, SULE, to come to Soho?
Well, it was a specific moment. A friend of mine lived on one of the streets that had been robbed, and since then they wanted to beautify the street and the neighborhood starting with that street specifically. It was like a friend of mine, like his dad's studio was upstairs. Another friend of a friend, it was like their family's like glasses shop on the corner, and it was a matter of painting the boards and beautifying the area after a lot of tragedy in the area mainly. So it was a specific, a friend of mine hit me up, it's like, let's come paint. And he's like, said, all right, do you have any paint? He's like, we have some paint, come through. And then it wasn't until showing up to the area and really seeing how it had been impacted and affected that I chose to stick around and keep painting. But specifically, a friend of mine hit me up to beautify his block.
And so, George Floyd got murdered like in May of 2020. Like what day? Like, was it early June or
May 27th.
Yeah.
July?
May.
Yeah, it was late
27th.
May. Yeah.
May. Oh, sorry. Yeah, May. So when was it? So you first came to Seoul, what, like around
Yeah, early June.
early June?
Yeah, first week of June.
First week of June. All right, it's pretty early.
Yeah,
So,
like next week.
Manny, when did you hear about it? Soho, and what were you doing at that time? I mean, you're working, but What brought you to SULE?
I worked at the time right off of Union Square. Our office was there, so I used to after work walk down towards Broadway, and so I was very familiar with the area. But
you must have saw some marches because they were pretty hot.
Union
Square was pretty hot.
No, I remember when everything started.
Okay.
Because I was also had friends in there, but also was I saw myself being part of the marches and helping as much as I can, and it was really chaotic at the time as well, especially like the last weekend of May, I remember. And yeah, next week came and it was like boarded up as a hurricane was coming. It was crazy. Yeah. Just to see, I was like, I gotta go walk by and just see it.
All right.
And I was like, well, that's crazy. All wood, bunch of. And then similar to him, one of my friends, more into the graffiti side, hit me up. He's like, hey, I actually saw him like going out and painting with other people that I knew on Broadway, like right on Prince Street. I was like, yo, how is that working? What's up with that? He's like, oh, just pull up, come through. I have a ladder. I have this and that for you. So I pull up with paint the next day, and I'm hitting them up, and nobody's like responding to me. And I was like, fuck. So I was like, whatever. I have paint on me. I don't need anybody to paint. So I went over to Wooster Street. I was like, let me get busy. So it was quiet. It was dead. The streets were dead. And that's when I did the Brooklyn Bridge March.
Okay. So that was the first piece?
That was the first piece, and I did that. And then from there, I don't know, it just never stopped. And I was like, this is cool. I want to do another one.
So how did y'all feel about not having permission? Because these are retail stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an upscale retail district. Did it play, I'm not trying to get at anything negative, but did it play a role in like your decision making, knowing that, hey, I'm painting the front of this store, that store? That, I guess it didn't matter per se in terms of not having the permission. Or did some of you get permission?
I think at the beginning, when everything's boarded up, it all looks the same. Like it's literally all just wood.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool to see, like we're painting on fucking Orange Theory.
Yeah.
The gym. But we didn't know that. It was just like wood. I'm like, oh, let's paint, let's hang out.
It was blank too, right? Some of it was blank, but some had negative stuff like F you the police and stuff like that. When I first started photographing it, that's what mostly I saw.
Oh, yeah.
Was the negative stuff. So I took pictures of that and then actually left Soho because I thought nothing else was there.
Really?
And then I didn't figure it out until the New York Times did a feature on the artist painting there. And then I came back, and then I think one of the first pieces I saw was Constance's piece. But go ahead, in terms of that permission part, you guys you just saw the wood and just went out there and painted.
Pretty much.
And there's no police really stopping, right?
No,
so
police were watching us.
All right. Oh, the police was watching. Wow.
Yeah. Like if they saw people painting, they would pull up. So I'm sure like someone would call, and then they'd pull up, and they'd pretty much just stay there on the block for maybe a couple hours, and they just leave.
Okay. Because we're still in COVID, though, right? So it's still COVID's still out.
I mean, I'd say that's been the case over the past few years, just in general. But yeah, definitely during COVID.
Honestly, also in New York City, you can literally go anywhere, and if it looks like you belong there, people are not gonna fuck with you. So if you go and like you start painting that and looks somewhat artistic, and more likely than not you're gonna finish and no one's gonna fuck with you. As opposed to you doing a tag that looks like graffiti.
It looks like
it stands out. Like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Right.
But if you're literally doing stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So both of you were kind of prolific in putting messages in your pieces, and so I don't have a big screen to kind of show the pieces. But if some of you in the audience have Instagram, you can go to my Instagram, Kirk Boone Photography. And then I have some pieces in there that we can kind of talk about if you want to follow along in the audience. Otherwise, we're gonna have to add it in the video as we edit the video, But let's go with this This one here.
So the one the second one that got the New York Times article feature, it's and that's actually that thing is tall enough where I needed a ladder, and that's the one that I saw him
that's
up the
what we
block,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey, what's up? Are you painting too? And this whole thing happened. But that's actually the first one. My second one, but when I met him and everybody else, and also I guess the message was I wanted to paint something that was happening at the time that, especially rather than painting hearts and roses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why not paint somebody? Which I chose this young lady, which she was like out the front of the marches and leading, and she's a young, cool chick. And I asked for permission, and I painted her, and little did we know it was gonna blow up, and like, it was gonna be great. But I think that was it. At the time, I just wanted to paint something with more substance, and bring awareness to what's happening, I guess.
Yeah, at that moment.
Because believe it or not, like I remember when we were there, like Nomo right next to it was like normal. Like you see like bougie people and people like looking at us while painting, but like pretending like nothing was happening. I was like oblivious to, and this was like midsummer 2020 when it was wild.
That part, that was wild, especially because that was directly in front of the Nomo where we were painting that, and they stayed open throughout the entire time. But yeah, there would literally be people in heels and dresses coming in for brunch as we're painting right next door. A lot of them would stop, be like, "What's going on here?" and all that sort of stuff.
Like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
So the hashtag for the Breathe Bill, that was something the protesters.
Breathe Bill.
The Breathe.
Breathe Bill.
Yeah.
I spoke to them because I at the time I think it was when a lot of people were organizing, and so they reached out to me when I was doing it, and like what. Anyways, it goes deep with them, but it was a great group of guys, and they were like, hey, you want to throw it up and work with us, I don't know, that was it.
So someone talked to you while you was painting, because I believe I met you at that wall as well. Yeah, so that was cool. So you didn't think of putting. That wasn't your own thinking.
No, that was
came
separate.
from somebody.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
One of the protesters. Okay.
Yeah, I don't usually do that, but I think at the time I was just like, I like what they're about. They're still around, which is cool.
The organization's still around.
Breathe,
Bill. Right.
So, and I like the dudes as well. So like they're doing their thing. So I'm like, might as well.
So in the context where you're painting, and this Black Lives Matter protest was around ending police brutality, right? It was a global thing, and it was all in the news every day. So the general public was aware all the time because it was always in the news. So Sule, you I'm gonna show this one. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's on my IG, Kirkbone Photography, and this one is My Color Is Not a Crime. Can you talk a little? Can you see this one?
Yeah, I can see it.
Talk a little bit about that one. I mean, you did a number of those. My Color Is Not a Crime.
Yeah. The first one I did is probably like the third or fourth. And it would have varying messages on the mask, on the character. Generally, I think I did maybe three. My Color's Not a Crime, and there was one was My Execution Might Be Televised, and that was a lyric from Freddie Gibbs off the album Alfredo.
Yeah, no, I had that one in there too, so we'll come back to that. But what I was getting at, you guys were putting themes into your paintings, so it wasn't just you guys painting the plywood. There's something going on that you want, at least you want people to see that something's going on, right?
Yeah, that was the most overt, straightforward message. Yes.
Because I think this, in a sense, it's powerful. My color is not a crime, right? And so, being a black man in America, the police can approach you just because you look suspicious of your skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a deep message. I thought when I first saw that piece, I really thought that was amazing, right? And a lot of these pieces you guys were painting, you painted your name boldly. So was that something you wanted people to know your name after you painted the plywood and you put up your message that, okay, I did this kind of thing?
Not so much. People had to convince me to actually sign it. I don't always sign them. Actually, I generally don't. I signed, yeah, I think it was my mom convinced me to actually put my name on like the first one.
Yeah, Ma.
Yeah, a few friends of mine, they said, they were like, yeah, like people are already, they were like, yeah, literally, people are already taking pictures and you're getting tagged, you need to put your name on it. So I put my name on it. And that's, yeah, the only reason. But it wasn't so much, I think it's not really for any recognition.
Okay.
It's art. I wanted to share that portion of how I was feeling and what I was thinking. And yeah, eventually I had to put my name on it. But yeah, no, to this day I generally don't sign them at all. Which has worked out, you know, people recognize the face and I still get tagged and stuff. But no, I generally don't sign them.
Okay, so Manny, you put the creator on yours. So that's all. So someone have to figure out who the creator is, right? After they see it. So, and your name is clearly there.
The creator.
Yeah, the creator. So how do you feel about that? You just thought, okay, I would paint, but you wanted to know that this person made it, kind of taking the credit. Not to glorify it, but you know, you put the work in, so why not?
Yeah, no, there's value in putting your name, or allowing people to, like, especially here, to see who the artist is and kind of follow them. I mean, there's, right? Like,
yeah, there's value to it for sure.
You know, it's interesting. Short story about the creator.
Yes.
Well, the origin of it, I thought of it. I really liked it because I used to like this movie Prometheus, which is about aliens, and there's a part of it that it says that all humans were created by the engineers, which is these aliens that kind of whatever. I thought it was so cool. So instead of putting the engineers, I just put the creator.
Oh.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
But this was
better than the engineers.
And obviously, I didn't think of, oh no, when I started painting, you were gonna call me the creator. I didn't think about that.
All right.
So, and then at the time, I also had it the creator _. It was long. It was a mouthful. So I had one of my artist friends, Surface of Beauty. This chick, she said, drop all the stuff, like make it simple so people can find you.
Yeah.
And because I had random people tagging random, like,
Yeah.
because it was legit the creator. It was the whole thing.
Right.
But that was the backstory, and then I just changed it to my name because I was like, regardless of how I feel, my name I think makes more sense. That's never gonna change.
No, I like the.
And people do tell me, oh, I like.
So did the New York Times find you? Yeah. Or you just saw it in the New York Times?
No, they reached out to me, the actual permission.
Oh, because of your IG, right? Your IG.
Exactly. You know, people reach out to you like that matter, you know. So.
And then SULE, you had your IG in there too, so as well, so people could reach out to you. So is there a backstory to SULE?
Yeah.
To SULE Can't Cook. I used to have a cooking Instagram, and I would, essentially, I guess, like make reels, which is what they call them now, right? Of me cooking. And, it was called SULE Can't Cook. And my Instagram before that was my high school like stoner screen name.
Okay.
It's Nugotron, and
you guys are you're really creating names. You're really creating names.
Yeah, right.
I love it, you know,
I
personally,
know,
but
yeah.
I was like, let me not have New York one, like quoting Nuggetron. But yeah, that's what literally happened. A bunch, yeah, because there were a lot of other than yourself, there were other people filming and coming down to see what was going on. So I switched I switched it to SULE Can't Cook, because at least like my name's in there, I guess. But yeah, that was it's now SULE Really Can't Cook.
All right. All right. No, I like it. I like
Posted in
it.
years.
I like it. So when did the both of you first meet?
That night, in front of the Nomo, he was looking for a ladder to finish up the
Painting.
I forget it, but the blowhorn.
The painting we were just.
You know, we were
megaphone.
just talking about. Okay.
Thank you.
The breed bill.
Yeah, the megaphone one, and I just finished the one you just showed.
Oh, that was close by, right?
Yep, that was down the block.
Yeah.
I finished that one, and there was a piece of wood on the door for next to where he was working. So he used the ladder while I figured out what I was gonna do, and then yeah, that's what I met.
All right, that's cool. All right, we'll get into the group you guys form a little later in the interview. But all right, so the size of the protest art was like pretty big. So I was just curious. The plywood was large, and how, to approach that as an artist, coming from paper to like a plywood board that's 6 feet by 6 feet takes some skill. So how did you kind of have a skill to do the murals that you were doing on those large plywood boards, or you learned as you painted? Just trying to get a basic question, because me out there seeing these big paintings is like, these guys got skills. So how did you approach painting these large boards? Did you already know how to paint large scale pieces from previous projects?
Well, myself, I've done big projects like that. Like I said, I was doing trucks, which is kind
Right,
of
the
big.
trucks, right.
But I was doing other stuff as well. So I had some experience, but that's always, my thing is just always to go bigger and bigger, and like, so I like doing that. And that's also a challenge. Like I like the challenge of making something cool look just as cool, except 10 times bigger.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Just trying to make sure it looks dope, and it's a cool challenge.
And how about you, Sule? You pretty much could do big things previously?
Well, yes, but this was probably like the bigger, the first one was like an 8x8. That was probably like one of the biggest pieces at the time that I had done. I definitely did just like stare at it for like the first day. I left and then came back. I think I might have primed the board maybe the first day I came out. Like there are techniques which I was aware of for it. You just do make a grid, but I didn't have a sketch to begin with anyway, so you need to have a drawing first if you're gonna make it bigger.
Right.
Just prerequisite, but so I pretty much just winged it all. I used a piece of chalk for like the first two pieces a little bit, just to give myself an idea. The second piece, because I was like a 12x8, and I did chalk that a little bit, and then that was a process, mainly because I only had tiny brushes. It was surface area. That was annoying, or tedious, whatever. But yeah, pretty much just winged it, like just a bigger piece of paper.
Just a big piece of, okay. But after you got done a few of them, you probably must got.
Yeah, I got a better eye for it, for sure. But tried not to be intimidated by the size of the space so much. Yeah.
So how about you, Manny? Did you sketch out anything? Or you
No.
kind of winged it?
I just go straight to it.
You just go straight to it. But you have an idea of what you want to do, though.
I do have an idea, but that's the part of the try to figure out how to make it make it make sense, and how to the fun part of winging it and figuring it out and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of times when a space becomes too big, it can feel overwhelming when it's that big of a size. But I'd rather just go attack it straight on, head on, and just start putting paint down. And I always tell people, just put paint down and then figure it out. Because if you, and I've told this to him too, if you stare at it for a while, you just gotta.
It's part of my process.
Okay, all right.
But yeah. So I know, but I don't.
It's definitely pulled up before, and I've been just sat there staring at it for maybe an hour because everyone else is painting.
Yeah. All right. So, did these take one day excursions, or you have to come back multiple days on certain pieces?
Could have probably been a one-day thing if I wasn't staring at it for hours. But we'd go back and forth between materials and that were available. Say a ladder, for example. So that was the main thing. But a lot of the stores and businesses in the surrounding area were super supportive. So they let us use ladders, their bathrooms, stuff like that. But generally, I would say it would be 2-3 days. If say a piece, we'd show up one day, paint, and then I generally come back for final touches sort of stuff.
Okay.
So usually a few days.
As you guys were painting out there, you were getting noticed, right?
Yeah.
So, Manny, you mentioned the New York Times. Me as a photographer, I'm photographing you guys. So, eventually, something develops where you become part of this group with 3 other artists called the Soho Renaissance Factory. And maybe you could both just talk about the genesis of that. Maybe not explain the whole thing, but just give us some idea of as you were getting noticed, this group thing started called the Soho Renaissance Factory. And was there impetus to form a group because of the media following you guys around?
The media definitely did have an impact on us deciding to form an actual collective and group. At the time, because we generally all started painting right after George Floyd was murdered, so that's early June. And this is say months later. Since then, a lot less artists were showing up to paint at the time. So you still have this group of people, and not all. We weren't. We're just a group of friends painting, pretty much. But having outside people, journalists, artists, just people in general, just being curious about what's going on, could always be us together. Painting, and what we do is pretty much pick a street, since so much of Soho was still boarded up, and all right, we're working here for the day, and then once that was done, just move to another block, and then it became enough people took notice of us, and it led to a lot of pretty cool opportunities. But yeah, it was never the goal, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. It was happened very organically because we were consistently spending so much time together. So it got to the point where we kind of had to. This is the phrase we've been putting is name the baby.
Okay. Yeah.
It's what do we call ourselves? And so that was our way of paying homage to the area. The artists that have come before us that have helped create and pave this path that we're pursuing, and then another ode to the modernity of how the art world's progressed over the past decades since when the factory was present in Soho.
That's Andy Warhol's factory.
Correct.
Right. And then Manny, was you there at the beginning of the Soho Renaissance Factory, or you kind of came in later?
Well, I met him painting out before they had the group thing, and so I was around, and I don't know. I guess we kind of just gravitated together and painted together and collaborated together, and that it kind of, like you said, it felt organically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
very organically.
yeah, so it only makes sense to put something together that we have as a group and make especially all these shows that we did and other events and stuff a lot easier when you have a team now that can kind of help put together. And it's organizing, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Right. So it was I guess 6 names that I know. You two, Constance Patton, Light Noise was there early on. Brendan was there, and then Amir Dia, right? So initially like 6 of you guys, but it was just interesting, seeing you guys kind of work together and work on these opportunities to engage your career in doing more art for the community. Because it seemed like the more art you guys are paying was more for the community than for yourselves. Is that kind of part of your practice? Is to put art on the street so the community can kind of see it and vibe with it a little?
Absolutely. I mean, we weren't getting paid for any of the work that we were putting out. It's a matter of sharing the work, beautifying a neighborhood that's been devastated, and then sharing whatever personal message you want. But beyond that, it's really just about sharing the art as a point of hope and strength for people during a time that everyone's pretty much devastated in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because I kind of like this piece here. And so describe this piece, because you're actually trying to make people think about small businesses. And that Statue of Liberty, it's got the mask, on, a lot of iconic stuff regarding that specific moment.
Yeah. It was just a fun idea. No, but I think this was like the beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
Where me,
That was like
Constance,
New Year's.
it's like one of those early, me and Constance were out painting and what we enjoy doing. And I remember talking to you guys like, yo, wouldn't it be funny if I did like a Statue of Liberty with like the 2021 glasses kind of. So I ended up doing that. And I was like, and I went all the way and I put the mask on it, kind of make it relevant to the time.
Yeah.
And then I put a message, because I think this was a time that, the whole thing with businesses were being impacted, the whole opening, closing and such, and we saw it firsthand. So that's why I was like, if I'm gonna put a relatable topic like the mask wearing and such, let me also throw up that, to support local businesses, small businesses. And I also learned to look at it as each of us as a business as well, and just support each other.
I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I also liked it. It was an idea that just came about, but I had fun with it. It's always a great time, just period painting with the Soho Renaissance or Constance and stuff. But I'm happy that people enjoyed it as well.
Right. While I'm on that, did you get responses from the public? Not necessarily the media, but passers on the street, or likes on your Instagram, things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't. I do it for just as my expression to be there in the world and people to interact with it on their own. If they don't, that's fine. But I don't know. And I did see that when I was doing the painting it there that day, in which it gives you courage of let me keep going. Or I like doing what I do, and everything else comes second.
Second, okay.
Yeah.
So you're concentrating on art, right?
On the art, on the message,
The message, yeah.
authentic, something, everything else, people gravitate naturally.
Right. So you had a special opportunity to work in Soho for a minute with this hotel. And how long were you guys working in that hotel in your residency? Because you had pieces in the lobby, you had a space. What was that like coming off the street and being in this fancy hotel and they're catering to in your career to help your artistry, and seemed to be very supportive. And some of you slept in the hotel for a time, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was awesome.
It's the Number Soho Hotel.
Yeah, it was awesome experience. But yeah, it was super, especially like going from like the day we met, which was painting outside of that same hotel, and yeah, the people going to brunch, like stopping and to see what's going on, to then be living in that hotel. But yeah, we lived there. A few of us, not all of us, lived there for about a year. And then we had the studio space, which used to be their club, which of course had to shut down at the time. So they were using it for storage, and we turned it into our working studio and like gallery space. And we were there for almost 2 years, like a year and a half, I want to say. We moved out like May last year. Yeah, May of last year we moved out of the studio. But we stopped living there maybe like 6 months before that, or something like that.
So how did this hotel come to you guys with this ideal? And when was it? Okay, you guys were out there like right early June 2020. You had work up. Did they come like July, September, or did they come pretty quickly to one of the members, or
it was
over time?
It was over time. It was a long process, us actually getting into the hotel. It was a long process. We had been speaking with different people for a while, and the idea was up in the air. Originally, we got on the radar of one of the manager at the time of the Nomo, and one of their business associates or partners. They're a tech like venture capitalist firm in the area, and we still work with them today, called Margaret JVP.
Mm-hmm.
And as they opened up their hub, they invited us to paint there. So we did a live painting. And you've been to the space since there, right on Grand Street.
So is that the one that had the press conference where they had?
Yeah, you were there for the.
I was there, yeah, for the press conference, yeah.
So there was that press conference that they had, and there were some other people working with the Nomo there, and it's pretty much they originally, I want to say they offered right then and there like a residency to Brendan, and then he was like, no, I work with the group, and that's in essence how it was able to turn to all of us having our residency there and living there at the hotel. But that was how the connection formed. But it was back and forth between like the manager, emails with him, our friends and associates over at Margaret JVP, and just having a lot of I want to say random, but in essence, how they came to us seems kind of random, because they all, similar to yourself, met us on the street painting. But since then, had shows and been on TV and had all sorts of opportunities that have come from that initial expression of us painting on the street. But yeah, lots of emails and back and forth to eventually get to that space. And even then, it was very much like a handshake deal, you know. Originally, we were only supposed to be there for about 3 months. 3 months turned to 4, and then 6. And
wow.
A year and a half later, you know. It was an interesting experience for sure.
So Manny, tell me a couple of projects you did while you were in the residency of Nomo. Because you were painting there really regularly. So I saw one big piece you were doing for an organization that I thought was like a banner. right? And I
Yeah.
thought that was like
Oh, yeah.
super,
CBD, right?
yeah, super cool.
Yeah, yeah.
CBD.
CBT.
CBT.
So we did a few projects there, and that project allowed me to work there. There was once we did a project with I think JVP during the holiday, Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Which was, again, we activated a space where we had kids come in, paint a bunch of pumpkins, and we did stuff outside that we incorporated. We used every single one of us as an asset, the artist, and it was fun. I mean, doing stuff like that. We've done events as well in the plays, where we had people come in and stuff. So quite a few events that we were allowed to do, and it was we're grateful for that. So.
Right. And so do you think it was because of the Black Lives Matter movement where the hotel was maybe giving back to minorities, not taking away from your art skills, but because there was protest and there was rage in the streets, did they feel they needed to give back, or you didn't see it as that? It's more a community thing where they wanted to give back because your guys were good artists?
I could say probably play into both, for sure. It felt very much it was more a way of trying to reinvigorating the area and the neighborhood so much. Again, thinking as a hotel, as a business, a lot of the service industry got hit extremely hard by the pandemic.
Right.
So, the hotel's empty. All businesses are looking for different ways to essentially continue keeping traffic. At the same time, and I guess big kudos to the manager at the time of the NOMO, because he really championed us getting that space and becoming, having that residency. But I guess it's hard to say, but cultural capital, so to speak, is something you could say. We flipped out their restaurant space, their lobby. We flipped out different rooms, as well as painting the entryway, which is, I found out, is it's like the top 5 most Instagrammed or photographed space places on Instagram. And there are a lot of places on Instagram.
Yeah. That's pretty big, man. So a lot of people come through that brick.
Yeah,
that brick wall.
That walkway.
Yeah, walkway.
Mm-hmm. People
I
travel.
was wondering how did the artist paint it? Because it was so tight. It didn't seem like there was space.
Yeah, it
to
was
get the art in.
annoying. Yeah, they have a fence. Yeah, we pretty much have to paint through it. Yeah.
But you got to paint through it.
Yeah.
So what was your character, Manny, on that wall, on the walkway wall?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the police one. It was something. What was that character? I can't remember.
The woman.
The woman. So I did a female portrait, and the writing it said "Love yourself."
Love yourself. Okay.
Yeah. No. Well, interesting about that one is I did one initially in Harlem. That was similar, colorful as well, but the message said, "I still love you."
Yeah.
I don't know. Anywho, it was I liked it. I mean, again, this was during crazy times, and I'm like, well, what I'm gonna pay? I'm gonna pay something that I'm kind of thinking
There's a personal
of.
story.
That you like. Yeah.
Okay, but there's personal growth too, because the second one in Nomo is I thought about it. I'm like, well, what's more important than loving anybody else is first loving yourself, learning to put yourself ahead. I didn't think this through, but no, that's the continuation of the first one.
Oh, the first one. Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's cool because I like how you blend your
Yeah.
colors on the brick walls. You're taking these surfaces that by eyesight looks hard to paint, and how do you mix the colors and make it pop out? But you have a way of kind of doing that, especially in Jersey City, where the one you have for the festival that's on the wall here. It's it's dark over there.
Yeah.
You know, even Sule used like a bright red on his.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, these guys really know how to blend their colors to
That's
make your piece come out.
and that's part of the challenge part of like besides how big it is, you think about everything else like how people are gonna see it, how it's gonna be viewed, how you're gonna get up there, how can you hold on to this while painting that.
Yeah.
All that plays into like the planning,
Other planning.
logistics.
Okay. All right. Now,
I do want to say, I do think the NOMO and JVP were concerned about the community. Said it was all about getting like cultural capital, so to speak. But because there was less travel, it was very much a way of bringing the people that do still live in the area and engaging with that community.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also a big part of us throwing like the Halloween event, for example. We're inviting the children, the adults for drinks, to engage with like for brunch. And the restaurant was one of their main, I guess like active ventures, and so
Yeah.
less people are renting at the time
Mm-hmm.
or renting hotel rooms. So they were very much trying to engage with the community that still exists in New York City,
Yeah, I
especially within Soho.
No, I think that was great, and you know, obviously, regardless of us being minorities, to take over the lobby, that's a big deal. That has nothing to do with skin color, right? Because you can't have someone who can't paint, right, in that lobby painting, right? So it really goes to show the skill levels that you have, and that to me they're honoring your skill level as well as cultural capital. You know, guys being minorities, they're getting a bonus from that. But it's really your skills as artists. So
Well, yeah, they
you
gave
guys
us
should
full creative control.
yeah, full credit. Yeah, so that's big.
There
That's
was
big,
no like,
you know, so
there was They
great.
had full creative control. They didn't try to manage what we were painting, how we painted it, or any of that stuff.
Oh, that was
It was awesome. The first time we got there, I remember it was Brian. We went to Blick, which is the art store, an art store, and there's one on the corner from the hotel. But you went in there, and everyone just pretty much grabbed stuff, and he ran it on the card at the end, and it was great. Yeah.
So did you have like a meal plan, or you pay your own meals? Or?
Oh yeah, no, that was the sucky part. There was no kitchen, so I definitely spent a lot of money on eating out, but I got a free hotel room and a free studio, so.
Great. So eventually, all this action would lead to an expedition at the National Art Club, which is a pretty prestigious gallery. What was that like for both of you guys? Because I believe you had one of your original books. Did both of you guys have original boards in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was cool. I mean, also, what was cool about it as well was seeing the original plywood that was boarded up in Soho when things were crazy. Now like set up in a very nice looking location.
We set it up, by the way.
Which we did ourselves.
Point that out.
All right.
It's cool. I don't know. It's you've seen it in a different place, and it's really neat, really cool, and I'm proud of how it came out when we did it.
How'd you get the boards there? You had your really truck?
U-Haul and our legs.
And your
I
legs?
mean, we
Yeah.
carried so many boards.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
they gotta be heavy too, right?
Yes,
Just in our
yes. We've
2
moved
years.
hundreds of boards. Because once a large portion of us coming together after so many people stopped painting and life changed, was preservation of the art. People begun to steal the boards, trying to keep them for themselves. To this day, there are stolen boards that we're searching for. It's unfortunately become a whole thing, but they are on their way back to us, and in due time. But yeah, a lot of it was preserving the boards, and that was a large portion of why we came together. We would collect the boards as we would interact with the different businesses that were willing to interact with us. Then we'd grab them when they said they were coming down, to avoid them being stolen by someone else, going to garbage, for example. And we were able to thankfully save a bunch of them, but after that, it was really cool to see them in a national institution and to see them recognized for what they are, and so quickly. And it's rare, I would say, to see acknowledgement for historical events during that time while the events are still ongoing. Yeah, definitely.
No, it's beautiful. You can't say it any better than that. I mean, listen, I myself, prior to 2020, did not see this coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did not see this explosion of art coming to Soho, and artists painting all through Soho. That wasn't in my dream, wasn't in my playbook. So I won't say it's from outer space, but it's surreal in that sense. That what happened during Black Lives Matter.
It's all been very surreal.
Oh, so you agree?
Uh-huh.
That it's surreal. How about
Very
you, man?
surreal.
Yeah. I mean, you live in New York City too. Like, nothing is. I don't know. It's
So
crazy.
we've seen a lot of shit.
Yeah, you see a lot of stuff.
I've seen a lot of shit.
You see a lot
You
of
gotta
stuff.
roll with the punches. You
Yeah.
know, what else?
Yeah, what else can you do? It's,
Yeah.
Soho.
When does that happen, though?
Where does that happen, right?
And then,
Where does Gucci close up, put plywood boards up,
Yeah, and I'm,
Gucci
and
did
then
not
artists
close.
compete?
I'm painting. Yeah, whatever.
Gucci didn't close, by the way. They were not closed.
Gucci? Okay.
They did not
They
close.
weren't?
No.
But they have boards.
They had boards. They weren't closed.
Oh, but they were open. Okay. Their boards got painted, though. I think they got robbed, though, right?
Their boards got painted. Yeah, Optimo was one of the first people to paint, and he did one of his characters with like a Gucci logo sort of thing. They buffed it that night, so it was gone the next day, and that was around the same time that a lot of major luxury brands were debating how they were going to approach the
Protests and the art.
protests and
Yeah.
the art that was on their property. So, for example, Gucci, I believe it was. I could look it up, but it's the next on the next corner on Wooster Street. It's I forget the name, but another like high-end luxury brand. Maybe it was like Coach.
Yeah.
As an example.
As an example, right.
But they were another store that artists would show up and then they would make sure it was blank by the next day.
I know Coach hired Jason Naylor
Oh, yeah.
to paint their whole store.
And that was after it had been painted 3 times and they painted over the work. And then they decided to hire someone. Again, that's what I was saying, while they were trying to decide how they would approach it. So people
Right.
painted it, they decided that they
Hire
would
someone.
find someone, pay them, and that's what they did.
Right.
And someone painted over the Jason Naylor art.
Yeah.
Next
That's-
couple days.
That's right. That's right.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a whole thing, multiple. Yeah, it was a thing.
Well, it was interesting that all these murals were painted. Not too many people went over each other, because it wasn't graffiti stuff anyway. They were like portraits, characters, messages.
There's also like plenty of space. Like it was a whole neighborhood, you know. Some people did go over other people for sure. That happened, but there was so much space for what.
Right. Okay. So as that started to close out, you leave Nomo and things slow up. The city starts opening back up. The boards come down. Now this opportunity to paint in a mural festival comes up, and you guys come together to paint it here where we at now, Jersey City. And what was there a coordinated plan within the Soho Renaissance Factory to paint together, or everybody had their own separate like ideal of what they wanted to paint with their space?
I think the mural speaks for itself in that regard. Similar to all of our other projects, we paint alongside each other, not necessarily with each other. We're not necessarily working on the same piece. Our pieces will work together, but they're totally separate pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't we didn't show each other. Well, both of us always work pretty much off script, so to speak, or we wing it, or we don't come up with a sketch. We have ideas in our head, and then we'll start painting. As Manny said, just put paint down and go from there. Just put paint down and go from there.
So, all right. So, what is your
other people?
So, police to police character? You've done that a number of times. That's the message piece. You do more than one character though. Where SULE, you have this other kind of character that you paint. So, kind of tell me your ideas around characters and developing them, and then painting it continuously. Because some artists develop characters and they merchandise with it. They'll do toys, they'll do other things with it. Is that kind of like the direction you want to go in with some of the characters you guys are painting on murals?
I'll eventually make my way into some more merch. I've been asked about it for a while now, a couple of years, I guess. So yes, but
What is that character though? Is it something I can identify as I look at it? Like,
that depends on you. I mean, you've seen plenty of
I've
them.
seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot of them.
Yes, that depends on you for sure. But in terms of fleshing out a paragraph, a bio for the character for people to read, don't hold your breath.
Don't look for that. All right, that's cool. How about you, man? You do multiple ones, so it does serve similar storyline. Like you see it. When you see it as it is, right? And there's no real, you're not trying to do a profile or anything with that character. It's just something you painted, and you're leaving it for the viewer to understand. Or do you have a message with some of these? Obviously, police to police is a policeman, but you do multiple characters. So what's kind of like your storyline as you extend your mural career? Will you be doing more characters, or you gonna kind of stay within the couple that you created already?
I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't want to like tell you how I'm gonna go about it. It kind of just goes how it goes, and ideas go how they go. I'm kind of also in a journey of how I'm gonna transition or where I'm gonna move, and you see artists go through the same thing, and so I'm still developing. So characters itself, I enjoy doing all kinds of characters or portraits or stuff like that. Stuff with a little bit more, maybe deeper meaning as well. I like it, or stuff with much of a background behind it. But there's no like preset of what I'm gonna do. It just kind of comes naturally, and I'm just driving the buzz here.
No, that's good. No, I like the style where you guys are improvising as you approach the wall.
Yes.
So you're not coming in with a planned sketch to do it.
100%.
You're letting your art create from where you are, which is great. So I'll maybe open it up for some questions if anybody has any here.
Very thankful that you all met.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm thankful for the community, like the community of artists that I've never been exposed to, and beyond artists, just everybody that's like enjoys photographers, people that the magazine and all that. It's really cool. It's really welcoming, and it's good to see people still around. So I never would have thought I'd be here either. You know what I mean?
All right. See, like me, yeah.
But here I am.
Here you
man.
are. Right.
Are you talking about Up Magazine?
Up Mag, which yep. Shout out.
Props to Up Mag, right?
What's it called? This when you have the similar mindset type of thing, and we all kind of move together, and it all moves
Right.
perfect.
Yeah, that's super. Yeah.
How do your respective communities and families, like you talked about your mom and all the
How
court
are-
cases,
how are
how do they feel like watching this now? How do your families feel about like what's going on when they're observing you? Is it like whatever, or is it like wow?
I feel like there's always on my mom's side, there's always on my parents' side, there's always gonna be the okay, but doesn't mean anything unless it's But that's just like, I think to me the immigrant mentality of like, it's unless it's on paper and there's a check behind it, doesn't mean anything to me.
Oh.
So,
Wow.
but I'm never like, I've always been also just gaining so like self, like I support myself, and I recharge myself. I don't really rely on other people and her. So I always saw it as, yeah, whatever. I don't see her understanding, but she always saw me painting as a kid and getting in trouble while painting. You know what I mean? And I know she wants the best, but I think unless I see it and complete it like in the final form, it's not gonna mean much.
Wow.
But that's just. Thankfully, my siblings are supportive as well. They enjoy the stuff I do, so and so I don't know.
How about you, Slade?
I think my family's very proud of me. Yeah. Yeah, they've been trying to get me to share my art and sell it for all my life, pretty much. And I've been the one who's been hesitant. So, yeah, they're happy to see me finally sharing more of it, I would say.
So do you see yourself doing large-scale murals, not on the wall, but, a 10-foot by 10-foot canvas, something like that, and that's hanging in the museum or something like that? Is that something you envision getting into in the future, or you pretty much going to let things come as they come, right?
I mean, that's the only option, really. Things will come as they come. But yes, I see myself painting larger canvases for sure. Larger buildings, absolutely. Which I'll do first, see how the cookie crumbles. But definitely, it's been thinking like the Jersey City Mural Festival and the Miami Mural Festival and like the many projects that have come since through like MANA, JC Map, and it's been cool that there's similar also to the NOMA, that so many people have put their trust in our capabilities and our visions, our creative vision, where we have not submitted like I didn't submit an application for the Jersey City Mural Festival. I didn't show them a sketch. Same thing in Miami. I didn't show them a sketch. I didn't apply. The trust in our creative vision and what we're capable of has been super cool to see. Definitely thankful for that. It's how we've been able to continue, or at least personally continue, like freely expressing myself. You've seen each character is the same, but they're all different, so to speak. Yeah, super thankful for that.
How about you, Manny? Are you going to go towards big canvases and museums and galleries?
Well, you said 10 by 10 foot canvas.
I mean, that's an exaggeration, but you could do 5 by 5, right?
Practicality.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy painting bigger, and by that, I'd rather do a wall mural, keep doing that. I enjoy things like, museums and galleries, but I honestly continue to do work in communities like my own, and continue to do stuff, and which I want to do more of in Sunset Park or in parts of Brooklyn. That's satisfying to me. Like at the same time keep getting better and stuff. That's all I see in my future. Keep doing that. Whatever comes after that, and that'll be that. It'll be a plus. But I really want to keep the emphasis on community, like my own, the ones that we grew up in, that I can affect, directly.
But canvases gets your stuff in homes and things.
Oh yeah. Like that's always.
We understand the practicality of it. We're not unaware of it.
Yeah. No, you're honest, of course.
Like we've moved enough 8x4 plywood boards to understand the practicality of a canvas.
Smaller plates.
Yeah.
Storage,
for
weight,
me, as
the
a
list goes
photographer,
on. But we both prefer painting outside, I would say.
All right, that's cool. But me as a photographer, it challenges me because if I'm taking a photo and it's your art, I have to. If I'm gonna sell a print, I kind of got to get the rights to sell that image, But I know I'm not the only street photographer photographing this material. So in terms of photography, when you're on the street, you kind of like don't control how how that image is going to be used if it's captured on a camera and someone takes it somewhere else and do something with it.
Yeah.
So you kind of like say, okay, it's on the street. If they shoot it, they shoot it. Whatever they do with it, they do with it. Or do you see, in my case, I have to, ask the artist. Or I work with Mana a lot. I have to, get permission from Mana. But me I want to be in a relationship with the artist. So I'm not someone that wants to rip the artist off. But when you have your art on the street, you kind of like not in control. So how do you kind of see that with so many people taking pictures of your art and you're not actually being in control of your copyright, per se, Not that something's going to come out of it, but I'm always curious, like how do artists feel with that whole copyright issue, with photography and street art.
I don't mind it. One thing I'll say is what I like to do when I paint is just like do and release it, and like whatever happens to it. I think that's the nature of street art, is that shit, the next day they can bring down the building, or the next day they can buff it out, and something that I worked hard for gets. And as much as it sucks, it just like it's part of the game. And same thing with people photographing some of your work, that whether they tag you or not, whether they give acknowledgement of who the artist is, it's always nice to see people that do, you know what I mean, that really are about or support the artist or support or spread the word. People like it. You want to see who did it.
Right.
But I don't marry any of that. And like if it happens, if it doesn't, it's the nature of it. But thankfully, I have seen a lot more than not people giving credit or people giving the proper due respect to street art, artists, and such.
How about you, SULE, with the street photographers? How do you see that role?
I mean, it depends on the intention, pretty much. Because, I've found my photos used multiple times since the first piece that I put up. And then I just started thinking about it at that point. Because, it's on, like New York One and like other public access, like stations for publicly accessible stations, for example. But it's intent. For example, with you, Kurt, like you've been with us since day one, and you've been transparent.
Right.
I would say that's the huge thing. But as Manny said as well, like whether someone buffs it, the building gets knocked down, you should, in my opinion, acknowledge the finite nature of street art, just in general.
All right, great. That's beautiful. This has been a great conversation, guys. If there's any more questions, let's shoot them. If not, I'll call it a day. This has been great, and this is recorded, so I'll be able to share it on YouTube, and you guys can come back to it as well. All right. So thank you, Manny.